So I think it's time to be honest about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Obviously, very highly anticipated game, even for a non-Nintendo YouTuber such as myself. I would say this is one of my top 3 most anticipated games of 2023. The other two, of course, being Starfield, which, yes, I'm looking forward to, even though I'm a bit disappointed by the constant delays and lies of Bethesda and Xbox, and Spider-Man 2, because I want to see what that game is all about. But The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is in an interesting position right now because this game means a lot. It means a lot to the Nintendo Switch. It means a lot to Nintendo. It means a lot to Nintendo fans, and I'm sure it means a lot to Nintendo YouTubers, but I mean, you would have to ask them because I'm not one of them. But the lead up to this game has been bizarre, to say the least. So I feel like it's time to be honest about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and just everything sort of circulating around it, all the drama, all the questions that go along with it, because I think there's one thing that we can take away from this that we're going to talk to in just a minute. But realistically speaking, the run up to this game has been pretty bizarre. You know, this was a game that we knew was in development pretty early on after Breath of the Wild was concluded. Breath of the Wild, of course, took the Legend of Zelda formula, turned it upside down on its head, and just did something completely different. And for many people, that really hit a mark with them. You know, some people didn't really like the expansion of the Zelda franchise, but I felt like it was kind of needed. You know, although personally I missed the dungeons and stuff like that because I think they're cool, the formulaic experience that Zelda was doing at the time, you know, you knew what you were doing. You would go to a dungeon, you would complete the dungeon, you would get an item, and that item would allow you to go to the next dungeon. Rinse and repeat until you get all of your abilities, and then, you know, you could go take on Ganondorf. But this game, Breath of the Wild, really made it very different because they were like, all right, here's a world. Go explore it. Go check it out. And yes, we had seen open worlds from many other games, you know, many other games on many other platforms, but you never really expected it in a Legend of Zelda game. And I feel like for the most part it worked pretty well. Obviously it needed some refinements, but that's where a sequel comes along and adds in those refinements. But it's been a very long time. It's been a very long time with this game because you got to remember, Breath of the Wild came out in March of 2017, and if you think that game was completed in 2017, you're a fool, because that game was a Wii U game, and when they realized the Wii U wasn't selling, they decided to hold it back to launch alongside of their new system. That game was probably done late 2015, early 2016, and that, I think early 2016 is being generous, but let's say early 2016. It's 2023, people. Like, it has been years since this, and many of us thought this was going to be, you know, a sort of transformation, sort of like a Majora's Mask thing, where, you know, it was essentially a reskin. And there's still people that think it's a reskin. There's people that think it's a $70 asset flip, and I'm not just saying that. You could see there's a large contingency of people online that are very worried about this game for one reason or another. You know, the $70 price point. Obviously, you're positioning yourself as a premium product, but let's be realistic. This game isn't going to run at 1080p, 60 frames per second, which, you know, your average games on other platforms in 2023 do run at that, and now Nintendo's charging, you know, a premium price for that. It doesn't bother me personally, but I do think it is a good point if it does bother you. Of course, you have the asset flip stuff. When you look at Tears of the Kingdom, it looks a lot like Breath of the Wild, and as it should, it is a sequel. But the problem is, Nintendo hasn't been marketing this really at all, and there's supposed to be so many different things within this game that are going to be different from Breath of the Wild, but we have not seen any of these. Realistically, we have not had Nintendo come out and say, here's the differences. These are the differences that we're going to have within this game. This is why this game is going to be so magical, and why we had to delay it for so long, and why we're charging $70 for it, because it has this, that, and the other. We've gotten a couple little trailers, couple gameplay snippets, and it's like, okay, you know, there's some different characters. There's obviously some different traversal mechanics, but what's going on in the game itself? Is it the same Hyrule that we played in Breath of the Wild? Is there going to be other sections of it? What's this in the sky stuff? Is it going to be standard Hyrule and then in the sky stuff? Is there an underground segment like we've been saying? And we've been having to piece together stuff from art books and, you know, leaked art books and stuff like that. And a lot of people are wondering like why Nintendo is doing this, why their marketing or the lack of marketing for this game is actually a thing when this is supposed to be the crown jewel of the Nintendo Switch. Arguably, this could be one of the last big games for the system before they move on to the next hardware. Statistically speaking, Zelda games are like that. But we have to be honest about this situation. It really doesn't matter. It really does not matter if Nintendo markets this or not. I think they're going to. I think there will be at least, you know, a more in-depth trailer. Maybe not a full-on presentation, but at least a more in-depth trailer for this game. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The diehard Zelda fans are going to buy the games. The people that were interested in Breath of the Wild who picked it up and ended up enjoying it are going to pick up this game. And there's data that supports this already. So the homie OJ from Player Essence, who, I mean, we disagree most of the time, actually put together a couple screenshots of different tweets and things of that nature. So shout outs to OJ, go follow him on Twitter. But basically here is, you know, a pre-order thing for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and it is already surpassing Breath of the Wild, even though we have, you know, a good bit of time before the launch of the game. It's #1 on Amazon in terms of new releases, which I don't put too much stock into Amazon sales. I mean, if that was the case, Metroid Prime or Metroid Dread would have sold 1 billion copies and it didn't hit 3 million. But it's #1 in the US. It's #1 in Japan. And then there's some Famitsu chart, I think. 943 votes. I'm not counting that, OJ. Come on, you shouldn't have put that up there. Like 943 people. Like that's really not a lot of people. Unless you're a small YouTuber and you get 943 views, then that's good. But like, you know, people are buying this game and it's almost like a bit of reverse psychology. Nintendo hasn't said anything about this game, but so many people have been giving this game free promotion. So many people have been giving this game free press. And the talks about the game are what is making the game relevant day after day after day after day. Theory after theory, speculation after speculation. And it's getting free marketing because I think everyone knows that this game is coming out in May. Everyone already has this game circled on their calendar. And if you show so, I feel like the amount of people that are really on the fence with this game that are like, well, I need to see a trailer before I buy the game. Like, it's such an incremental, you know, minimal amount of people that it doesn't really matter. I feel like most Nintendo Switch owners who like games like this are going to buy this game on day one. Zelda fans are obviously going to buy this game on day one. People who liked Breath of the Wild after purchasing it are going to buy this game on day one, regardless of whether they show anything or not. And I do think they're going to show something. So everyone just needs to calm the hell down. You know, it's weird. Yes, it's very weird how Nintendo has been handling this situation, or the lack of handling with this situation, because they really haven't been doing shit. They've just been, there's a little trailer, we'll wheel Doug Bowser out there and be like, it's the biggest game ever. It's a big Nintendo game with a big budget. You should buy it, because Nintendo of America doesn't do jack shit. But it doesn't matter with this game. It's kind of like a Mario game. At this point, it sells itself. Now, do I think it's going to outsell Breath of the Wild? Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no. Because that was a completely different situation. But that's a conversation for another day. Everyone just needs to calm down about this Tears of the Kingdom stuff. I'm sure the game is going to be great. I'm sure there's going to be fun stuff to check out in the game. I'm sure the game is going to be worth the wait. And in a couple of weeks, this radio silence that Nintendo has been doing, nobody will give a shit about. Other companies are doing this with their games, and maybe it's for good reason. Maybe they're trying to build up the hype closer to the release of the game because of the fact that, you know, people, this is an ADD generation. People tend to forget things, you know, after the next day. It's always moving on and going to the next thing and talking about the next big thing, unless you're a diehard fan of the franchise. So I think it kind of makes sense. I think everyone is just worrying for, hopefully, no real reason. You know, Zelda does have a great track record, but hey, you know, there is that little bit of uncertainty. There is that little bit of doubt, but you're just going to wait for the reviews to come out of the game, and then nobody's going to have the balls to say the game isn't great if they don't like it, because then Nintendo Twitter people will attack them. It's a catch-22, but at the end of the day, your opinion is the only opinion that matters to yourself. And always remember that. Go against the grain if you don't genuinely like something. Just like people don't genuinely like me because I'm not a Nintendo YouTuber. Let me know what you think of this conversation in the comments section down below. I just felt like talking about this today because it seems like every day it's getting worse and worse, and everyone's freaking out, and it's like, calm your tits. Calm your tits. And as always, thank you guys for watching this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Hit the bell notification as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.